All right, hi everyone. This is Mrs. Lee here. Activity 10, examples like problem number 1. So if we look at the directions, it says write the linear function of a line that goes through the points 2, -6, and 1, 7. For this one, we're not given the slope. We don't know the y-intercept. The only thing that we know that there are 2 points. So the ones that we're going to use is going to be this point slope form, since we have a point and a slope, right? We can figure out the slope because guess what? We have the slope formula right here in this goldenrod box. And what do we have here? And then, but we want it in this function notation. So we're going to actually, if you remember, f of x means just y. So we want to actually, from the point slope form, we're going to convert it to the slope intercept form. So we're going to use this guy first, and then we're going to go to slope intercept form. Well, technically, we're going to have to use the slope formula. Since I already used 1 and 2, I'll make this 0. Okay, so that's our step 0. So here we go. So it looks like we need to label some x's and y's. Remember, the first number is always x, second number is always y. I'm going to pick, it doesn't matter which one we pick it to be 0.1, but I'll pick the first one to be 0.1. So that's going to be my x1, y1. Sorry, that should be like a little closer. And this is going to be x2, y2. So think of like the 1s and 2s like the last name. So if we have 2 x's, what do? If we want to differentiate them, we just give them different last names. So this is x1 and x2. And then we're just going to do the work right here over on the right hand side. So m is equal to y2 minus y1. So that's going to be 7 minus. Now that negative is not part of this minus, it's different. So we're going to do that separately. If you want to put parentheses around that, you totally can. Over x2 minus x1, so that's going to be 1 minus 2. So 1 minus 2, right? And then we're going to, I'm going to just rewrite something right here. So remember, the minus, the negative is the same thing as a plus. It's the same thing like adding, so it's actually 7 plus 6. So 7 plus 6 we know is 13 over 1 minus 2, which is -1. We always like to see if we can simplify this fraction, and we can because -1 does go into 13. So 13 divided by -1 is just -13. So I'm going to write this right here on the bottom. So we know that m is equal to -13. If yours is reduced as much as it can or simplified as much as it can, you would just leave it as a fraction. We normally see lots of fractions in answers. All right, so then we're going to go and put this in the point slope form. Our step number 1. We're done with step number 0. So we're going to just copy this down. So y and the x, remember the letters in black are just variables, so we leave them. And we're going to go y minus or y1. Now, honestly, it doesn't matter which number you choose, or which point you choose, I should say. But since this first one, this is already labeled x1 and y1, and I have x1 and y1 here, I'm just going to use those. So my y1 is -6. So just like with the slope, this minus is already part of that formula. So we're going to just, there are 2 different things, is equal to m, which we found was -13, times x minus, and our x1 is this 2 right here. Right, so now it's in point slope form. So we're almost there, but we just want it to change it to slope intercept form so we can write it as a function like this. So I'm just going to do a little bit of rewriting. I know that it's y plus 6 minus the negative, same thing as the plus, is equal to, now the way I get rid of parentheses, do you guys remember? Oh, you're right, it is distributive. So we're going to go with -13 times x, which is -13x. And then -13 times, remember we consider this to be like a -2, so -13 times -2 is +26 or +26. We're almost there, we just need to get rid of this +6. And the way we undo a +6 is we subtract 6 on both sides. So our 6's cancel out on the left. All we have left is the y is equal to -13x plus 20. All right, and so since we know that y is the same thing as f of x, we just need to fill this out. So it's just going to be -13x plus 20. That's it, just like that. Okay, so if you want to pause here and you want to try this next problem by yourself and then watch the video, feel free to do that. If not, if you're a little bit still confused, there's a lot of steps, then continue watching. All right, so we're going to go on here. So since the last time I chose the first point to be 0.1, I'm going to choose the second one to be 0.1. So I'm just going to go x1, y1, and this is going to be x2, y2. Okay, actually, let me just change the color just to change things up just a little bit. We'll go green. And then we will do the same thing. We're going to do find our slope. So it's going to be y2 minus y1. So it's going to be 4 minus 2 over x2 minus x1. So it's going to be negative 8 minus a negative 3. All right. So remember, this is the same thing as negative 8 plus 3. So hopefully if I write on here, it will not disappear. Yay. So that's 4 minus 2, which is just going to be 2. And negative 8 plus 3 is going to be negative 5. Sorry, I would normally do that video over again, but this is like my 4th time. So don't want to do that. So here we go. Remember, normally we put the negatives on top. So positive divided by negative is going to be a negative. So our slope is equal to negative 2/5. I like to put my negative out here on the left and then my fraction like this. So we're going to just, again, do the point slope form like we did before. So it's going to be y minus y1. And so I'm just going to use the second point since it's already labeled x1 and y1. So my y1 is 2, so it's just going to go look like that, is equal to the slope, which is negative 2/5, times x minus my x1, which is negative 3. So a negative 3. So minus a negative. So I'm going to do a little bit of rewriting here. So y minus 2 is equal to negative 2/5. Sorry about that. Just ignore that little line that's protruding out of that 2x. And instead of minus negative, I'm going to just write a plus like this. So it might make our lives just a little bit easier. So then we're going to have y minus 2 is equal to, and I'm going to just distribute this. So this is going to be negative 2/5 x. And then negative 2 times 3 is going to be negative 6 over 5. All right, and we're so close. All we need to do is just add 2 to both sides. So plus 2 plus 2. Running out of room, I'm just going to move it right over here. So what we have is going to be y, if I can write it, y is equal to negative 2/5 x. And then negative 6/5, remember that's the same thing as negative 1 and 1/5, right? Because 5 goes into 6 one time with a remainder of 1/5. And then plus 2, so that's like subtracting. So all I would have left is 4/5 left. So this is going to be plus 4 over 5. So my function is just going to be negative 2/5 x plus 4/5. Not too terrible. I know there were some fractions, but it's okay. We will all survive. Okay, that's problem number 1, and go on to the other videos.